Hello everyone, welcome back to the classroom. Hi, today what we are going to talk about is the accounting concepts into auditing. Accounting concepts. So you are going to teach accounts, yes, somehow accounts. Because we are going to talk about those kind of terminologies, those kind of terms which are used into accounts. And they are also forming a part into your auditing as well. Okay, so talking about that terms, those terms which are over there into your accounts, they are being like below the line, above the line. What is this below the line, above the line? What is the difference? There is a lot of difference. There is a lot of difference. Now, moving on to next, we are also going to talk about your bank reconciliation statement. What is bank reconciliation statement? Whatever you have covered into your practical part, we are just going to write down into theoretical aspects. That's it. Right? Moving on to next, we are going to talk about revenue expenditure, capital expenditure. What is revenue expenditure? What is capital expenditure? Moreover, we are going to talk about what is fixed asset and what is current asset. We are going to talk about that what is, you can call it as deferred revenue expenditure. अब ये क्या होता है? Have you heard about contingency reserve? What is this contingency reserve now? These theories are supposed to be covered into accounts. If you have covered it, it's really nice, but it does not mean that you are going to leave this classroom. If you have covered them, this is going to be one of the, you can call it as a boost up or a refreshment for you guys, in which you guys can learn those kind of things. Right? Now, moving on to next part, my dear students. That, okay, we are also going to talk about the prepaid expenses and expenses relating to the previous year. We are going to talk about the preliminary expenses which are incurred in formation of company before the incorporation of company. Whatever the expenses which have been incurred, we are going to talk about them. Moreover, after that, we are going to talk about the expenses which are relating to the concerned previous year. Okay, got it? So this is going to be the outline for today's classroom. Let's go back. Let's talk about today's classroom. Okay. Accounting concepts in auditing. So the very first concept is all about above line and below the line. So let me consider that this is a line. Right, below the line we do have the profit and loss appropriation account, or you can say wherein the adjustments, the appropriations, you can say adjustments, appropriations, and utilization of profit is expressed. Right, these are the things which are over there expressed. You know about profit and loss appropriation account, profit and loss appropriation account. In this we used to do such kind of appropriations. They are below the line, right? Reserve also. Reserve is an appropriation of profit, so hence it is also considered below the line. Appropriation of profit, so this is also considered below the line. Now moving on to next, if I talk about above the line, this is that segment where profit and loss, where net profit is determined. Right, over here profit and loss is determined using, that means on this side you are going to credit all reserves, all gains, and all profits. Right? And over here you are going to debit all the expenses. You are going to debit all the expenses and working charges for a concerned period. Right? So these are the things, this is the phenomena that how one used to get a profit and loss figure. Talking about this time, right? So this is considered above the line. If I talk about manufacturing, you have manufacturing account, you have your trading account, you have your profit and loss account, right? And over here we do also include provisions. Because provisions are charged against profit. Charged against revenue, They are charged against revenue. You have to charge them if you want the things to be there, if you want basically to comply with certain kind of contingencies, right? So if I talk about these kind of things, when Reliance Jio jab aaya tha beta, so at that point of time, the Airtel, Vodafone, Idea, they do not have such kind of reserves. They were not aware actually that yes, there may be a kind of a technology named as 4G. Right now we have moved a lot, we have moved forward, but there is a kind of technology which is going to be there by name of 4G. If Airtel, Idea, Vodafone, if they would have maintained a kind of a contingency reserve for such kind of things, they would have immediately looped in their investment at the next level. तो उनको वेट नहीं करना पड़ता, वो भी फटाफट से 4G पे पैसा लगा दे, 1-1.5 महीने में सब बराबर कर देते. But there was no such plan, right? So this is a line, and this is what you call it as below line, and this is what you call as above line. Got it, beta? Understood? Below line and above the line itself. Right? Now, moving on to next. Please pause. Pause karo, beta. Pause. Now, there is a term named as cut-off procedures and transactions. Cut-off procedures and transactions. So, talking about this cut-off procedures and transactions, what is over there? It refers to particularly the procedure which has been adopted by management. Procedure adopted by management to ensure that transactions of one period are separated from those of commencement at following year. Sir, please explain again. Okay, so this is when your financial year will particularly start over here and it will end over here. So let me give you a figure being like it's 31st of March beta 2015, right? Now at this point your 2014-2015 is going to end, right? And at this point 1/4/2015, this is 1/4/2015, and this will continue till 31/03/2016. This period is going to start. So management would have adopted a kind of a procedure so that whatever the transactions belonging to this year will not be carried forward into next year. Right? So how we are going to deal it? If we have made a purchase this year, right, and we are going to make payment in next year, where we are going to count it? Where this is going to be allocated? आप इसको कहाँ लेके जाओगे? In 2015 or 15-16? Right? This is all about the cut-off procedure which has been adopted by the concerned management so that the transactions of one period are separated from the commencement at following year. Got it? Yes, please. Or else you have done sale, right? And for payment will be given to you guys in next year. So what is going to happen? How the things are going to be dealt with? कैसे होगा इसका काम? Right? These are generally applied to these kind of trading transactions. Okay? समझ में आया बेटा? Pause करो जल्दी से बच्चे. Pause. Right? Now, the purpose is, if I talk about the purpose is to ensure that revenue and expenditure of one year do not get recorded in following or preceding year. Right? So this is all about that they should be recorded as per their time period. देयर इज अ कंसर्न पॉलिसी, एक पॉलिसी होती है बेटा, टेंशन मत लो कि फंस गए यहाँ पे क्या करेंगे आप। देयर इज अ कंसर्न पॉलिसी दैट व्हेन इट कम्स टू द इवेंट, कुछ लोग उसको इवेंट के बेस पे चलते हैं। अच्छा, द आंसर इज एक्रूवल बेसिस। You used to make your book on accrual basis. That means due, right? Due, that does not mean mountain dew नहीं, नहीं, mountain dew नहीं यार, mountain dew नहीं. Due means it's due, I mean when the date has arrived for payment, right? So for the purchase, when the date is, the amount is due. The amount is due on 2015. You are going to record it in 2015. This can be one of the solutions. जब से date due हुई है payment, वहां से consider कर लो. Right? So this can be one of the solutions. It is not mandatory though. There can be a lot of situations when these things can be changed. Okay? Got it, beta? Now moving on to next. Now if I talk about these cutoff procedures, they do have a lot of areas covered. They do have a lot of areas which are going to be covered. The very first is the various kind of purchases which are made by the company. These purchases can be goods purchase or the property which has passed on to somebody else, inventories, the credit purchases, the various kind of purchases which have been made, or else that can be also the various kind of sales that can be related to the various kind of inventories. So these are the various things which are over there. Right? You have purchased the entry, the stock taking is made on one day, and other day the movements are recorded. So on the other day the financial year has changed. Got it? समझ में आया थोड़ा? Now moving on to next, talking about the next topic, which is all about, pause करो बेटा, pause करो. Now, so this is all about BRS. BRS refers to bank reconciliation. Bank reconciliation statement. So this bank reconciliation, what does it states? It states that yes, there is a kind of a difference, causing difference between balance as per your books of accounts, and next is bank statement. Yes, very good. Bank statement, that is your passbook. Generally known as cash book, passbook, right? ऐसे हम इसको कुछ यूज करते हैं. Why we are using BRS? What is the objective? If I talk about the objective of BRS, the very first point is to ensure balance as per bank. That means bank book, can also be known as bank book, right, is stated correctly in balance sheet. If I talk about balance sheet itself, the balance is stated properly. It should not be like that the balance at your bank account is something different and you are stating something different. BRS is the conclusive evidence for that. Right? To satisfy the genuineness of differences. Between bank book and passbook balance. If you are being like that, yes, there is a difference, right? The difference is over there, evidenced by BRS. That is one of the conclusive evidences that yes, the difference is absolutely correct, as we are getting the same difference into our BRS as well. Okay, got it? Now please pause करो बच्चे, pause. Moving on to next part. So the next part over here relates to ensure efficiency of internal control. In recording all deposits. and recording all deposits and withdrawals through bank. Withdrawals through bank. The total amount which you have deposited and the total amount which you have withdrawal through bank for a fixed time period, that is overall recorded into your BRS, right? And audit areas in BRS. Audit areas in BRS. So what are the things which are required to be taken care of in BRS? So the very first point is entries for omitted items. Entries for omitted items. That means sometimes bank charges, interest, they may be omitted. That means example, bank charges or interest received, they are omitted in bank book. If adjustment entries are needed, they are required to be entered. Right? Now moving on to next. The next is stale check. Stale checks. Yes. What is stale check now? Stale check, beta, you have given, आपने क्या किया? So, there are a lot of long outstanding checks which may be cancelled, or there are adjustment entries which are required to be passed. Stale checks are those checks which are not presented to bank for payment, within 6 months. So when you have given a check, you have done the entry at your end. But if I talk about the bank itself, bank के पास तो वो check पहुंचा ही नहीं, right? The bank has not received that check. अब क्या होगा? There is going to be a difference. So there, the auditor is required to record reasons for that why it has not been presented, why it has not been record reason plus do the concerned adjustment. Right? Now moving on to next. There may be various kind of errors which are associated over there into your PRS. There may be mistakes over in your bank statements. There may be double debit for certain charges. There may be wrong credit. Right? So if they are revealed by errors relating to double credit, right, there may be double debit, whatever the situation is going to be. So you are required to take a follow-up action and communicate this to bank. Sir, if something is getting debited from my bank itself, I will immediately come to know about it. Oh, really? But if I tell you that yes, there are approximately 1.5 lakh transactions on daily basis which are taking place into your bank account, अब बताओ क्या होगा? 1.5 lakh transactions. Oh my God. Yes. Right? So that is the total scenario, that how the things are going to work. So cool, huh? Cool. So these, तुम ये मान के चलो बेटा, मोटा मोटा काफी सारी transactions तो Uber वाले ही कर देते हैं. An Uber driver used to take 50 rides. अगर वो देखो, अच्छा pause करो पहले, please pause करो. Pause. Yes, very good. If there is a Uber driver, right? If there is a Uber driver or Ola driver, these are cabs in Delhi. So if he is taking approximately 25 rides per day, right? How many are going to be there in the total month? 750. This is for one Ola Uber driver. The second one again 750. They do have 1000 drivers. They do have 1000 drivers. So the daily transactions are 25,000. The monthly transactions are 750,000. Or else 7,50,000. These are monthly transactions. समझ में आ रही है बात? So the maximum number of transactions are going to be there, the more money you are going to earn. Okay, now you guys can pause meanwhile. Pause. Very good. Now moving on to next. There is another term which is associated talking about control accounts. Control accounts. So accounts, this arises in context of self-balancing. Self-balancing and sectional balancing ledgers. Sectional balancing ledgers. Right? It is more relevant in case of manual accounting system. More relevant in manual accounting systems. Manual accounting systems. Okay, so this is much more relevant if I talk about those kind of systems. Manual accounting system, what does this mean? Munimji, yes, Munimji. Samjhe? So that in such kind of things, because in case of, if I talk about the computerized systems, over there this concept of control accounts is very much less. But if I talk about manual accounting system, the control accounts are much more vivid. Right? So this is particular, the procedure is all about, there are large number of transactions. Procedure is large number of transactions are over there into your personal accounts. In personal accounts, right? That personal accounts are debtors, creditors, right? And it is usual and it is usual to maintain debtors and creditors ledger. Debtors and creditors ledger on a self-balancing, or so they are maintained. So how these things are done? A general ledger is maintained. You are going to maintain a general ledger. So if you are required to maintain those kind of ledgers, just maintain a general ledger of total debtors account, or total creditors account. Got it? समझ में आया क्या कहना चाहता हूँ मैं? So there is a total debtors account, there is a total creditors account. This can be used very easily. And moreover, if you are going to have these kind of things, they will give you a lot of being advantages. Right? Okay, first of all, let me give you a clear comparison of what is going to happen into individual accounts and what is going to happen into total debtors or total creditors account. Let me take the total debtors part. Pause करो अभी यहाँ पे. Pause. So beta, this is just an example, okay? So if a transaction is taking place, right, what is going to be the effect on individual accounts? And what is going to be the effect on total debtor account? Right? The transaction is credit sales. Well, now what is going to happen? Sir, credit sales, we are going to debit partner's account. Okay. You are going to debit partner's account from sales register. Right? Got it? But when after that, what is when it comes to collection from debtor? When it comes to collection from debtor, now what you are going to do? Okay, it's not partner, it's party. पार्टी आना चाहिए ना, मैंने भी गलती से पार्टनर लिख दिया, तुम लोग भी कुछ बोलते नहीं हो, चुपचाप बैठे हो, है ना? इट्स पार्टीज अकाउंट, पार्टनर कहां से आ गया बीच में? Parties account from sales register. When you get, the collection. So let us suppose goods are over there and goods have been sold to, baby doll. Baby doll में सोने वही. So goods are sold to baby doll on credit. Now you are going to straight away credit the amount. After some time you will be getting your money. After that, what you are going to do? You are going to credit the account. Credit the individual party's account. She is one of your party. Client ही है, छिछोरे कहीं और गए ना तुम बेटे. सर छिछोरा क्यों बोलते हो? सर क्लास में लड़कियां भी है. तो बेटा मैं ऐसे बोल नहीं सकता ना, समझो थोड़ा सा. तो सर को थोड़ी सीनियरिटी बना के रखनी होती है, वरना तुम्हारे को पता तुम्हारे और मेरे में खाली टाई का फर्क है बेटा. सब तो और भी छिछोड़ते अपनी बारी. Discounts allowed. So if you have allowed the discount, then it is again going to be credited to party's account. Got it? But what is going to be the effect on total debtors account? मैं क्यों बनाऊं? Because right over here, whatever the total credit sales have been achieved during a concerned month is total sales for a concerned month is straight away debited to control account. They are straight away debited to control account. At the end of the period, they are done from the sales register. So you are maintaining a kind of a control account, and at the end of the period, you are going to pass the necessary entry from sales register. Right? In spite of passing the entry on daily basis कि बेबी डॉल को हमने इतना दे दिया, कैटरीना कैफ को इतना दे दिया, right? So do not pass the entries on individual basis. You are going to pass a total debtors entry, right? Once if your period has ended, if the time has, the time period for sale has ended, after that you are going to do the concerned entry into your sales register. समझ आया थोड़ा थोड़ा? इंडिविजुअल पास करने की जगह मैं टोटल पे पास कर, right? After that, the same over here at end of period. At end of period, the same will be at end of period. They are credited. They are credited at cash or bank book extract. Right? And if something has been given, so again at end of period, whatever the total discounts which you have given, at the end of the period they are credited to cash book or passbook, whatever the situation is going to be. Okay, so in spite of doing the individual entries over here, you are just going to maintain an account, you are going to pass the individual entries over there, and at the end of the time period, you are going to pass the total entry. समझ आया? थोड़ा थोड़ा समझ में आया, बस कोई बात नहीं, थोड़ा थोड़ा भी समझ लोगे तो भी बहुत है. Right? Got it? चलो आगे चलते हैं. Pause करो अभी यहाँ पे. This was just an example. Okay, this was just an example. थोड़ा थोड़ा idea भी लग गया है. If you get a minimum idea for that, that is also perfect. So please pause. Pause करो बेटा. Pause. Very good. Now moving on to next. The next is all about the advantages of this control accounts. So first of all, you are going to localize the errors. You are going to localize the errors in posting. Rather than searching through all ledger books. Through all ledger books. Got it? So in spite of that, posting those things into total ledgers, you are going to post. In spite of that, you are going to check out each and every ledger. At this point of time for this person, how much was the amount? You are going to make things over there localized. You are going to be familiar with the things. If you want to prepare interim accounts, to prepare interim account without balancing, without balancing each personal account. So you can straight away prepare the interim account, because looking at such kind of control accounts, you will come to know about that, yes, this is my total debtors and this is my total creditors. I'm not required, my client will not be required to balance each and every account. No, that will not be required. I have to just go to the total debtors account, and after that I will check everything, that how much the amount has been paid, how much money is pending. Right? To report amount of debtors, or you can say creditors on up-to-date basis. For MIS systems. I mean, not MIS system, for MIS purpose. What is this MIS? MIS is Management Information System. These are the various kind of systems which are over there, which you will come to know about into your accounts. Many companies use MIS, they use SAP, they use ERP. These are various kind of softwares. Sir, ये busy क्या है फिर? Busy तो मैं भी बड़ा होता हूँ. Busy, that is just for local businesses. At a very high scale, what you will find that yes, there are ERPs, SAP, DSS, MIS, बहुत सारे type के softwares होते हैं. Right? Now let's quickly move on to some kind of a difference between, which is over there talking about your fixed asset and current asset. Right? Pause करो जल्दी से बेटा. Pause करो. Yes. Now, so first of all, we are going to have a basis over here. Then we are going to write fixed assets, right? And then we are going to write current assets. So first of all, if I talk about the basis itself, the basis is something which you guys can learn. We'll come to know about it, how we are going to write the basis over there. So first, what is about the fixed asset? लिखोगे क्या पेपर में? अब मेरे को ये बताओ. I know you guys are much more familiar about this. I know मेरे बच्चे बहुत होशियार है, इतने होशियार है, फाड़ देंगे पेपर में. No, but होशियार कितना भी हो, पेपर मत फाड़ना, दोबारा नहीं मिलेगा बेटा. So fixed asset, what are fixed assets? Sir, plant, machinery, land, building. अच्छा, ये तो example हुआ. This is example. What is the definition of fixed asset? Or okay, can you please tell me what is the purpose of fixed asset? What is the purpose of fixed asset? चलो easy करते हैं. What is the purpose of fixed asset? Purpose is they are acquired for purpose of earning revenue. Purpose of earning revenue. They are acquired for this purpose with the objective of earning revenue. Right? And what is the purpose of current assets? The purpose of current assets is to manage day-to-day business activities. Manage day-to-day business activities. Right? Now, if I talk about the changes, will any changes take place in fixed asset? Not frequently. Changes may take place, but not frequently. बहुत जल्दी हम इसको change नहीं करते हैं. So not intended for resale. Sir, if that is an investment, that can be done, but fixed assets, I'm talking about those kind of assets which you are already using into your business for purpose of earning revenue. Using into your business. Right? So over here, if I talk about the current assets, they can change from one to another. And they change very frequently, just like your stocks, your work in progress, right? Your debtors, your cash. They change very frequently. If you do have a cash of 5 crore rupees today, that will be changed tomorrow to 6 crore rupees, or the day after tomorrow they will be changed to 4 crore rupees. बहुत जल्दी जल्दी change होता है. Okay, if I talk about depreciation, fixed assets do attract depreciation. They are subject to depletion. They are subject to depreciation. Right? They are subject to exhaustion, wear and tear. Right? But if I talk about current assets, they are not subject to depreciation. They are not subject to depreciation, wear and tear, depletion, exhaustion. They are not subject to this. सर उसने फुकरे में बोला तो था काई लग रही है मेरे नोटों को. फुकरे में बोला नहीं था उसने, काई लग रही है मेरे नोटों को. पड़े पड़े गांधीनगर में 12 दुकानें हैं मेरी, तो काई लग रही है उसके नोटों को, तो डेप्रिसिएशन थोड़ी लग रहा है. नोट फट जाए या कैसा भी हो, चलेगा तो उतरेगा ही. यानी बच्चे भी कहाँ से आ जाते हैं. सॉरी मैं कहाँ से आ जाता हूँ. सर ऐसा देखो, आपने मारा था डायलॉग, हमारे को मत बोलो. ठीक है बेटा, तुम लोग तो इतने अच्छे हो, क्या बताऊं. तुम्हारे को पता है मैं ऑनलाइन वाले बच्चों से इतना प्यार करता हूँ, क्या बताऊं तुम्हारे को यार. मतलब प्यार करता हूँ इसका मतलब कुछ और मत समझ लेना भाई, बस सर स्ट्रेट है. हाँ, अब इसका मतलब ये मत समझ लेना यार, मतलब एज अ स्टूडेंट यार, मतलब बच्चे इतने शरीफ मिलते हैं मेरे को. यहाँ देखो बेचारे, तुम कुछ भी नहीं बोलते हो, इतने शरीफ बेचारे बच्चे हैं, चूं की आवाज नहीं आती. चलो अब आगे चलते हैं. Carrying amount. So they are, if I talk about carrying amount, stating amount, they are stated as original cost minus depreciation. Right? They are stated at either at cost or net realizable value. Net realizable value, whichever is lower. Beta, lower over here does not mean pajama. That means the thing which is least out of both of them. इन दोनों में से जो कम होगा उस पे. समझ में आया? Now this is the difference between fixed asset and current asset. Got it? चले आगे. Now moving on to next part. So the next part is all about the floating assets. Floating assets, yes. Floating assets. So what is this floating assets? Right. Floating assets particularly means current assets. Means current assets that are either they are manufactured or else they are, you can say, purchased during normal course of business. During normal course of business. Got it? They are held for shorter period. They are held for shorter period and converted into cash within a year. Into cash within 1. एक साल में बेटा ये किस में कन्वर्ट हो जाते हैं? कैश में कन्वर्ट हो जाते हैं. ठीक है? Got it? Now, if I talk about the concerned valuation of such kind of floating assets, if I talk about the valuation, how the valuation will be done for your... Oh, you can. So, if I talk about stock, sir, was KCT, but such kind of things are over there, they will happen a lot of time, right? So, stock is all the time valued either at the cost price or else at the market price. Whatever you find, whatever is lower, lower means pajama, nahi, whichever is lower, that means jo kam hai, at that price the stock is going to be valued, right? Now moving on to next. Please pause karo beta. तुमको पता, I mean, over there, being over there with you guys in such kind of offline classes, I do have a habit of saying, being like, pause करो, pause करो. I used to say like, being बच्चा सामने बैठा होता है, मैं बोल देता हूँ pause करो, right? So now moving on to next part. If I talk about stock, or if I talk about sundry debtors, these sundry debtors or else bills receivable. They are required to be valued at net realizable value. Right. Now moving on to the next topic which we do over here is all about wasting assets. So this is all about floating assets, right? And next is wasting assets. What is wasting asset? Wasting asset, that means over there you will hardly find that there's a kind of, I mean, depletion or decrease in value. We refer to being like assets which are over there like mines. कोयले की खदान होती है ना, हाँ, शोले देखिए, शोले, उसका वो जो हीरो था, वो जो विलन था, the villain, he is no more, but actually the things are being like, I mean, there are some assets which do not suffer usual wear and tear like normal assets, right? So there are, I mean, particularly very limited quantity of resources which are available over there for extraction. By working upon these, their value will get depleted. So beta, if you feel like that, yes, there is a kind of, what you call it as, there is a coal mine. After getting the coal from that mine, the value will get depleted. That is all about the use. There is only limited quantity of resources available for extraction, right? After that, the cost of these assets, they may be distributed, they may be charged. So cost is charged as a part of depreciation, over a certain period of time. That may be depending upon the quality of material. This depreciation over a certain period of time. That period of time may be on the basis of quantity and the time itself. Okay, example: mines, quarrels, oil wells. Mines, oil wells. तेल का कुआं होता है, oil wells. दुबई में है ना, दुबई में you do have oil wells over there. Now moving on to next part, talking about the next topic. So this is going to be a difference between, please pause. Right, this is going to be a difference between capital expenditure and the next over there is revenue expenditure. Right? So talking about this, I'm sorry. So talking about capital expenditure, this expenditure is incurred. Here, expenditure is incurred for few purposes. Those purposes are first of all being like for acquiring, extending, or you can say improving assets, of permanent nature for carrying on business. Or else this is all about increasing the earning capacity. Increasing the earning capacity of business. Okay. If I talk about revenue expenditure, this expenditure is this expenditure is for benefit of company. Is for benefit of company, and this benefit is received by the company normally within 1 year, right? And this is implied, I mean, or you can say this is expended in process of earning revenue. In process of earning revenue. So whatever the amount which you are earning at present, just to boost it up, just to increase your earnings. If you are earning approximately 2 crore rupees per month, that is, this kind of expenditure is, done so that you can increase your earnings. So basis is all about the meaning itself, right? And now moving on to the next part, that is all about purpose. So if I talk about the purpose, so what is the purpose of capital expenditure? Purpose of doing capital expenditure is, first of all, you are acquiring assets. You are acquiring fixed assets, particularly. You are acquiring fixed assets which are not for resale, which are not held for resale. But if company is acquiring any kind of land, building, they are not going to be there for sale. That is going to be a part of company's assets, right? Or this is all about making addition to fixed assets. Making addition to fixed assets. That means company does have some kind of fixed assets. Now you are adding towards those kind of fixed assets. Okay, you got it. After that, it's all about reducing cost of production. Reducing cost of production. Right. So that means if you are going to do over there, if you are, making more plants, if you are doing, doing an expansion of more and more factories, more and more manufacturing plants, so that is definitely going to increase your cost of production. Got it? Over there, the purpose over here is to actual day-to-day running of business. Running of business. So this is associated with day-to-day running of business. The next is maintaining capital assets. Maintaining capital assets in efficient manner. Assets in efficient manner. That means whatever the scenario which is going on over there, you are going to maintain your capital assets which you have acquired using capital expenditure in a very efficient manner. Okay, got it. This is really simple. You have covered that into your economics. You have covered that into your accountancy as well. Right. So I'm not giving you guys that much time which you are expected. So we are just writing down the theories as per the audit's perspective. Okay, so what is going to be the treatment in financial statements? How you are going to treat into your financial statements? Yes, what about capital expenditure? If a company has purchased, a land, what is going to be over there? That will be displayed over there in balance sheet. Okay, it will be there over in balance sheet. Right, and when it comes to the depreciation over such kind of assets, that is charged straight away to the debit side of profit and loss account. Okay. Well, if I talk about revenue expenditure, that company is doing such kind of things so that they can boost up their revenue, right? So such kind of an expenditure is charged. Such kind of an expenditure is charged to profit and loss account. To profit and loss account, right? If you are going to, in both of the situations, if there is any wrong treatment, the profits will be misunderstood. The profits will be either understated or they will be reduced. Either they will be increased or they will be reduced. If you have, in spite of charging it as a depreciation, you have charged it as an income. So the profit is going to change. Charging this as an expenditure, again you charge it as an income. The profit is going to change. So if they are wrongly treated, the profits will be affected accordingly. Got it, beta? Now, okay. Can you please tell me what is this deferred revenue expenditure? ये deferred revenue expenditure क्या होगा? सुना होगा कहीं पे? What is this deferred revenue expenditure? Okay, let me write a short note on this. You may get a difference between the revenue expenditure or a deferred expenditure, but I am just writing the short notes so that you guys can have a proper things upon this as well. You can have a command on deferred revenue expenditure as well. Right? So deferred revenue expenditure, it's deferred revenue expenditure. This deferred revenue expenditure is that kind of an expenditure, my dear student, that kind of an expenditure which occurs in 1 year, which occurs in 1 year of and this is primarily of revenue nature, primarily of revenue nature, but the benefit of the expenditure, extends to more than period of, or you can say, no, do not write period, right? More than year of incurrence. More than period of incurrence. Right? So this is all about, it's 1990. This is the year in which the expenditure has taken place. So this expenditure will give you a benefit being like that you will get the benefit in 1991, 1992, 1993. What kind of expenditures there? Example is advertisement. You are doing advertisement campaign, or you are doing a kind of new campaign into the market. Right? After that, और बेटा देखो पार्ले जी की ad आती थी पहले. Do you remember Parle G? Parle G is not doing the advertisement, but still they are getting the benefits. Right? Doing an expenditure is a part of 1 year, but you will get the benefits in so many years. Okay? समझ में आई बात? After that, expenditure. Now moving on to next. Okay. The next example can be discount on issue of debentures. On issue of debentures. Discount which is allowed on issue of debentures. And there may be a lot of development expenses which may take place depending upon business to business. So got it? The next point is all about that the benefit of such expenditure relates to many years. It relates to many years. That is relating to a future period. Relating to a future period. Got it? Understood? So you can pause again. Yes, you can pause again. Very good. Pause. If I talk about deferred revenue expenditure, what is the treatment? The treatment is being like it is written off in parts. It is written off in parts. Which kind of parts? Parts in which your benefit will accrue. Your benefit will accrue. So it is, if it is being like 1990 was the concerned year when the expenditure has taken place, right? So after that you got the benefit in 1991, 1992 and 1993. So after that the expenditure was 40,000, right? So you got the benefit in this year 10,000, 10,000, 10,000 and 10,000. So this is the way that how we are going to write off the deferred revenue expenditure. Got it? Understood? Using this phenomena, beta, you can also write a difference between the capital expenditure and deferred revenue expenditure and deferred revenue expenditure. Okay? Got it? Now moving on to next part. You can pause. Yes, pause. Next is, so either there are preliminary expenses. How many of you remember the company law? Being over there, we have covered few things being like preliminary expenses, and there are few things over there being like pre-production expenses. Pre-production expenses. So over there, if I talk about preliminary expenses, what are preliminary expenses? Preliminary expenses are those expenses which are incurred by promoters. Which are incurred by promoters of company. Which are incurred by promoters of company to bring company into existence. To bring company into existence. Better, so that is being like, there is Baba Ramdev. This is Baba Ramdev. Baba Ramdev came up with an idea that being like there should be, everything should be over there based into Ayurveda. So Baba Ramdev do not know that how the company will be there. Right? Baba Ramdev do not know that how he is going to make a company. So definitely he would have approached a professional. That can be a chartered accountant, a company secretary, a cost accountant, or that may be a lawyer as well. So he would have approached a professional, or professional ने Baba Ramdev का idea सुन के सब बता के, so he would have advised that ways, or you can say procedure to form a company. To form a company. That is the way that how the company will be formed. So the charges which are over there, right? Once the company is going to be established, he would have taken an office on rent, plus office facilities are going to be over there. So whatever the expenses which are over there, so that the company may be there into existence. So that is all related to preliminary expenses. Got it? Sir, professional ने कितनी फीस ली होगी? बेटा, that depends upon party to party. A company formation may be done by any person in 5,000 rupees. 5,000 रुपए में लोग कर देते हैं. अच्छा. But it can also be done in 75,000 rupees. 75,000. Who will pay you 75,000? People will pay 1 lakh rupees as well. So what is about pre-production expenses? So these are the expenses incurred. Expenses incurred by an industrial company. By an industrial company after incorporation. After incorporation. So beta, this is after incorporation, and this was before the company, to bring company into existence. This was before incorporation. Okay, this is after incorporation, and this is generally done by a industrial company, right? So these are the particularly the expenses incurred. Expenses incurred in factory setup. In factory setup is considered as, and when it comes to the industrial company, right? I'm talking about the industrial company. The second difference is after incorporation. That is after incorporation. Got it, my dear student? Now moving on to next part, let us discuss about the rest of the things. So this was particularly the meaning, definition, whatever you want to write, right? After that, they are incurred prior to incorporation. Incurred prior to incorporation, right? But if I talk about pre-production expenses, they are incurred after incorporation. They are incurred after incorporation. Incurred after incorporation and before commercial production. Before commercial production is going to take place. After incorporation and prior to incorporation. So can I say that what is the exact time? Right? Time of expense. Time of incurrence of expense. When the expense is going to be incurred. Got it? Yes, please. So, if I talk about the preliminary expenses, they are taken up by the promoters, right? So, if I talk about the preliminary expenses, these are those expenses which are incurred, or you can say which are borne by the promoters itself. You can pause over here, beta. Pause. Yes, pause. Now, so they are, if I talk about them, they are incurred by promoters. They are incurred by promoters, and these expenses, they are incurred by the concerned company itself, because at that time the company is there into existence, and we are talking about after incorporation. Incorporation के बाद तो बेटा company existence में आ चुकी है, so they are incurred by. Sir, this chapter is very easy. अच्छा. So, I mean, after that, if I talk about these kind of preliminary expenses, they are one-time expenses. They are one-time expenses. Or over there, if I talk about these pre-production expenses, they are revenue expenditures. They are a kind of revenue expenditure, but cannot be capitalized. They cannot be capitalized. Got it? As they do not result in enduring any kind of profit. Got it? So if I talk about, this is all about the nature of expense or nature of expense. Right? After that, what is the disclosure, or you can say, I mean, where you are going to mention them, what is going to be the treatment? The treatment is going to be, first of all, they are carried forward in balance sheet. They are carried forward in balance sheet. And they are over there in asset side. Asset side. And every year you are going to write off them. They will be written off every year for a period of 3 to 5 years till the time you are getting their benefits. Okay, till the time you are getting their benefits, they will be written. Right? If I talk about the same part, they are also carried forward. They are also carried forward to balance sheet. They are also carried forward to concerned balance sheet. Right? And they are again written off. And they are again written off for a period of 3 to 5 years. Till the time after, written off for 3 to 5 years from profit and loss account. बच्चे ना पता नहीं क्या क्या लिख देंगे. From profit and loss account after commercial production. After commercial production will start. Once your commercial production has started, then you can particularly write off such kind of things, and that was put away valid at that time. Understood? Now, please pause. Pause again. Pause again. Yes, beta. Pause. Very good. Now, moving on to the next part. So, okay. Chalo. Let me tell you. I am over there. Right? मेरे पास एक मोबाइल फोन है. मेरे पास एक मोबाइल फोन है. Right? So this mobile phone does have, क्या चल रहा है आजकल? फॉग चल रहा है सर? नहीं. I do have a Reliance Jio number. सर आप Reliance Jio यूज करते हो? हाँ जानता हूँ, सब बच्चे वही यूज करते हैं. सर यूज नहीं करते हैं Reliance Jio. So moving on to Reliance Jio, right? There are a couple of things. Either this may be prepaid, right? Or this may be postpaid. Right? There are two kind of connections. There are two kind of network services. Network services are over there. If I talk about the billing system, right? They are over there for two types. So prepaid is something which for which you have already paid, or you can say paid in advance. Beta, paid in advance. Postpaid, that means you are going to pay, right? You will pay now. You will pay, and for this the benefit you have already taken. And you have already taken the benefit. You have already taken the concerned benefit for that as well. So this is all about the prepaid expenses. This is all about the prepaid expenses and expenses relating to previous year. Relating to previous year. So just like your rent which was required to be paid, you have not paid the rent that got accumulated. किराया देना था, नहीं दिया आपने, इकट्ठा होता जा रहा है. ठीक है? After that, talking about this part, so what is the concerned meaning? The concerned meaning is all about, so prepaid expenses, they will represent expenditure already incurred. Expenditure already incurred. That means you have already paid those kind of expenses. Right? Got it? So this will, but expenses related to previous year, they will relate to previous year. Relate to previous year, which have to be accounted for period to which they relate. For period to which they relate. Right? They relate to previous year and they are already incurred. You are going to pay them this time, but the previous one, they are already incurred. When they are going to be incurred, so first of all, prepaid expenses, they are, expenses paid. बेटा अभी जियो का रिचार्ज कराते हो ना, कोई भी रिचार्ज कराते हो, you tend to make a recharge for next 3 months, 6 महीने ऐसे के लिए होता है कुछ. So expenses paid for subsequent accounting period. Subsequent accounting periods. Got it? If I talk about expenses relating to the previous year, so they constitute the expenses payable, expenses paid for current year. For current year. You can make it as a current year and you can make it as subsequent periods or subsequent years. Right? So do not make it a previous year, make it the current year itself. This would be quite easy. Okay, now moving on to next, please pause karo beta. Pause. Now, what is going to be the treatment? What is going to be the treatment? If I talk about the treatment itself, what is the treatment? Right? So first of all, they are over there. They are debited to profit and loss account. Being an expense, it is debited to profit and loss account. Right? So this is going to be expenditure. The treatment is over there, expenditure less prepaid expenditure. This is your treatment of prepaid expenditure. Sir, आपको तो accounts भी आता है? हाँ, थोड़ा आता है. So debited, right? Over there, if I talk about the expenses relating to the previous year, or you can say which are over there relating to the current year, how you are going to do them? Again, you are going to add the amount which is over there. First of all, it will be debited to profit and loss account, being it is an expense, and into your expenditure. That was prepaid, but this belongs to current year, so you are going to add paid plus paid, the amount which has been paid for the concerned current year. Got it? Yes, please. The treatment over there into profit and loss account is this way. Right? If I talk about the treatment into balance sheet, the treatment over there for this prepaid expenses, they are considered to be your assets. Right? So they are going to be over there on asset side under current assets. Under current assets. Got it? If I talk about this part which is already relating to the previous year, so these are going to be right on the liability side. They are going to be there on the liability side and they are going to be there under current liabilities. They are going to be under current liabilities. Right? If there is, oh my god. एक तो ये लोग बुलेट क्यों लेते हैं, और अगर बुलेट लेते हैं तो ये साइलेंट क्यों चलाते हैं, ये देखो आप कितनी दूर तक शोर करेगा, बड़ा 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 सिर में दर्द नहीं होता है इसके. नाउ effect of suppression. Beta, if I am going to suppress those facts, right? If I am going to hide such kind of facts, then what is going to happen? Profits will be understated. Right? After that, the profits will be overstated. Profits will be overstated. Got it? If you are going to, I mean, the prepaid part, this will not be deducted and profits will be overstated. Right? In case, so this will be understated because the expenditure will be more if you are not going to reduce the prepaid part. There will be more expenses. More expenses means less profit. And over there, if you forgot to add it, your profit will be understated. Right? Got it? Should I go ahead now? Okay, so can you please tell me now? Pause karo beta, pause karo. Now, can you please tell me what is reserve and what is provision? What is reserve and what is provision? Yes, please. सर एक ही तो बात होती है. नहीं 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 नहीं. So first of all, let us talk about reserves. एक बात नहीं होती है बेटा. So reserve is over there. It is a portion of earnings. बेटा मम्मी कमेटी डालती है. If I talk about committee earnings, in India we used to believe on committees rather than mutual funds. Yes, we believe on committees. That you are going to have a part from your earning which you are going to save, right? Portion of earnings, portion of receipts. Portion of earnings, receipts, or other surplus of an enterprise. Appropriated by management. Appropriated by management for general or specific purpose. For general, that can be for general purpose, that can be for specific purpose. Right? There are reserves for specific purpose and there are reserves for general purpose. But there are certain provisions which are excluded. So there are excluded provisions. We are going to exclude depreciation, or you can say diminution in value of assets. In value of assets, there shall not be any kind of reserve for them. And the next is for any, you can say unknown liability. Unknown liability over here refers to the amount, the liability for which the amount cannot be determined. Cannot be determined. Just like you are going to have a reserve about the various kind of events. They are not events actually, they are disasters which took place, right? You have made a kind of an earthquake reserve. You have made a kind of a earthquake reserve. So what is this earthquake reserve? Sir, कल को अगर भूकंप आ गया, right? So अगर मेरी कंपनी डूब जाएगी क्या होगा फिर? You have made also a flood reserve. So सारा का सारा पैसा reserve में जा रहा है. Or what you are doing, you are just cutting off your amount, and after that you are transferring the amount to reserve. And after that, you are telling shareholders that nothing is left. Right? 50% is over there for earthquake and 50% is over there for flood reserve. Now, nothing is left over there with you guys which you can give as a part of dividends. Right? Now, moving on to next. So, there are general, there are specific, there are revenue, there are capital reserves, there are a lot of kind of reserves which are available. Right? So, talking about general and specific reserves, first of all, we do have general reserve, and we do have specific reserve. We do have specific reserve over there as well. So if I talk about general reserve as well, it may be provided. It may be provided against unknown future contingencies. Against unknown future contingencies. That means you don't know which event is going to happen in future. Keeping that event into your mind, you can transfer some of the funds for general reserve, which can be used for any purpose. Right? The purpose may not be specified. It can be used for any of the purpose in your depending upon your future events, depending upon the future contingencies. Right? After that, this is done to increase. This is done to increase working capital. You get a strong base of working capital with this, right? Or you can say to strengthen the financial position. To strengthen financial position of company. To strengthen financial position of company. Right? Now moving on to next. Specific reserves are over there which are created for some definite purposes. Created for some definite purposes out of profits of company. Out of profits of company. That means that can be related to your DRR. How many of you have how many of you remember this DRR? It is over there into your Companies Act. So debenture redemption reserve. This reserve is created specifically for debenture redemption. Okay. Example, machinery replacement. Right. So that is also a reserve. Over there is a definite purpose. But over here there is no such definite purpose. This can be purpose is going to be your basis. Right. After that. So over there, if I talk about general reserves, so you need to retain profits. Then you can straight away transfer it to general reserve. You can create general reserve. Right? So this is all about that from where the money is going to be transferred. Right? Or you can say basis of creation. The basis of creation is going to be profits of company. Right? Or else they are created depending upon the very first is to comply with MOA, to comply with Articles of Association. AOA, Articles of Association. If you do provide such kind of reserves, being like the company is going to have a reserve for this, the company is going to have a reserve for this to meet contractual liabilities, just like DRR, CRR, to meet contractual liabilities. Right? Just to meet the contractual liabilities, so that the contractual liabilities can be met. Right? Please pause. Yes, pause. Next is to meet any particular future situation. Right? So this is basis for creation. The next is availability. When general reserve can be used, they are generally free reserves. They are free reserves and are available for any purposes. And available for any general purpose. For any general purpose. Right? If I talk about the specific reserve, they are available and used only for purpose for which they are created. Purpose for which they are created. So this is all about availability. that when you can use them. Availability, or you can say usage. When you can use them, where you can use them. Got it? Yes, please. So this is all about the difference between general reserve and specific reserve. Please pause. Very good. Please pause. So the next is all about capital reserve. Right? And over there it's revenue reserve. So capital reserve is something which is not available, to be distributed as dividend. This cannot be distributed as dividend. So it's revenue reserve. Revenue reserve is reserve other than capital reserve. Then capital reserve. So that means I can use revenue reserve. Yes. For distributing dividend. Yes, definitely. So this can be meaning, this can be definition, this can be anything else, right? So if I talk about the creation itself, so this creation, they are created out of capital profits. Created out of capital profits, right? And they are created out of revenue profits. They are created out of revenue profits. Simple. Okay. Now moving on to next. Anybody knows about that? What is a secret reserve? A secret reserve क्या होता है? वही तो पूछ रहा हूँ. Secret reserve क्या होता है? There is a term named as secret reserve. So what is this secret reserve? Secret reserve. What is secret reserve? देखा कभी? But you guys tend to have a balance sheet, right? In this balance sheet, what you will find that there are liabilities and there are assets. Assets are there and liabilities are even there as well. Now, if you find that asset side is somehow has been increased and liability is not over there. If liability is 150 and assets you are finding being like 175, right? There is an amount by which, the net worth has been deliberately understated, or the excess of assets over liabilities, and you are unable to find this 25. If I talk about the difference of 25, you are unable to trace this into your accounts. Then this 25 will be classified as secret reserve. It will be classified as secret reserve. Secret reserve is any reserve. Secret reserve is any reserve which is not apparent. Which is not apparent on face of balance sheet. Which is not apparent on face of balance sheet. That means it represents any amount. It represents any amount. Sir, your handwriting is very, very good. I know that. गाली नहीं देंगे, sarcasm से लेंगे, है ना? ऐसा होता है. So it represents any amount by which net worth has been deliberately used. Understated. The next is there is excess of value of assets over liabilities. Assets over liabilities, which is not disclosed in accounts. It is not disclosed in accounts. So this is known as a secret reserve. This is known as an internal reserve. This is all the time known as also a hidden reserve. There are so many synonyms for the same. You can call it by whatever name. Okay, by hidden reserve. So I mean, what is the purpose of having such a reserve? If you find it being like that, yes, it is over there. So first of all, can you please tell me? Okay, pause. Pehle pause karo. I will tell you everything in this regard. Now, the very first is how they are created. How they are created. And next is what is the purpose of having such a secret reserve. How they are created and what is the purpose. So they are created for the particular purposes, why they are created. And so first of all, they can be created. There are so many methods. That is understatement, or you can say undervaluation of assets. Undervaluation of assets, or you can say omission of assets. It means some of the assets they were not recorded. Omissions of assets. It will lead to the creation of secret reserve. Right? You can say overvaluation of liabilities. Overvaluation of liabilities. Right? After that, you have charging, or you have charged capital expenses to revenue account. Capital expenses to revenue account. Or else showing contingent liabilities. Showing contingent liabilities as real liabilities. As real liabilities. This will lead to increase in liabilities again. Or providing excess depreciation. Providing excess depreciation. Or you can say excess provision for bad debts. Excess provisions for bad debts will lead to creation of secret reserve. Now, if it is created, how you can use it? What is the purpose? How you can use it? First of all, and the purposes are to withhold earning capacity. To withhold earning capacity, or vital strength indicators. Vital strength indicators of competitors. Just leave this one. This is totally, not relevant. Leave this. So if I talk about the purpose, let me write a couple of the purposes and they are going to be sufficient for you. Right, writing two purposes about them, this is going to be sufficient. If you will get an examination, you will get a being like that, yes, there is something over there for 2 marks, 3 marks, just like that. Purpose is to hide abnormal profits. To hide abnormal profits earned in certain years. Earned in certain years. Well, due to some favorable business opportunities. But if I talk about how many of you love crackers, right? So sometimes what you will find when it comes to favorable business opportunities, a business earns abnormal profits. Normal profits which are over there, keeping into mind the consistency in business environment. But there are some abnormal profits as well, which are over there just because of the favorable business opportunities. Right? To declare and pay lesser dividend and retain more earnings with company. Retain more earnings with company, so that you can retain more earnings with company itself. So the purpose is that for what purpose you are going to create it and how they are created. What is the purpose for creation and how they are created? बेटा तुम्हारे को बंदी पसंद आ गई, पर्पस क्या है? मतलब शादी करने का पर्पस है, right? Now how you are going to create her? How this purpose is going to be accomplished? What is going to be the technique? Right? after that showing contingent trust. Sir आप भी छिछोरे हो, बोल रहे हो करना क्या? जी sorry मैंने कुछ और ही लिख दिया यार. So this is all about declaring and paying it, sir. Create cushion to cover. Create cushion to cover. Create cushion to cover insufficient profits and lenience. Insufficient profits and lenience. So just like there are sometimes there are favorable business opportunities, sometimes there are less favorable business opportunities. So beta just like that, if I talk about a concerned teacher, तो देखो तुम लोगों के पेपर होते हैं, you guys tend to have your examinations in December and June, right? Talking about December and June, so that is a down season for a teacher. That is a lean year for a teacher, right? Abnormal profits are over there when you guys take admissions. Oh my god. Now moving on to next, let's quickly go to the next difference between. This is all about a secret reserve. You can get being like a short-term note, a short note to be written. You can get, explain secret reserve, why it is created, how it is created, what is the purpose of creation, right? Now, moving on to next. Now, what is reserve and what is provision? What is reserve and what is provision? So, reserve over here. What is reserve? Sir, reserve is a portion of earning. You just told us. Okay, very good. Portion of earning. That is the same definition which is required to be covered. Portion of earning, portion of receipt, right? Or any other surplus. Or any other surplus of an enterprise. Appropriated by management. This is by management. That can be for a general purpose, for general or specific purpose. That can be for general purpose, that can be for specific purpose as well. Okay, that is the meaning. That is the meaning of reserve, and this is the definition of reserve. If I talk about provision, what is provision? Provision is any amount. Provision is any amount written off. Any amount written off or retained by way of providing depreciation. Amount written off, or else you have retained it by way of providing depreciation. That you are going to provide depreciation, right? You are going to provide, the certain kind of renewals, or else you are going to provide the certain kind of diminution in value of assets. Diminution in value of assets, right? So the bits over here, in such kind of provisions, the amount cannot be determined with substantial accuracy. But you do have such kind of accuracy if I talk about. So you can also write amount cannot be. So you have provision for bad debts. Are you sure that how much bad debts are going to be there? No, you are not sure. Amount cannot be determined with substantial accuracy. Right? Now moving on to next. So if I talk about what is the relation with profit? Relation with profit. If I talk about the relation with profit, this is appropriation of profit. Appropriation of profit. And this is charge against profit. This is charge against profit. Right? It is an appropriation of profit, and provisions are charge against profit. Because they cannot be created unless you do have a profit. But provision should be created even if there are no profits. Right? So you can also make another point being like, You can pause. Yes, you can pause. Now, this is all about creation. If I talk about reserves, reserves can be created only if there is profit. If there is profit. The next is provisions. If I talk about provisions should be created even if there is no profit. If your company has no profit, then also the reserve provisions shall be created. What about the nature? The nature, if I talk about reserves, is reserves are always optional in nature. It depends upon the policy of the company, right? So it depends upon the nature of the management that whether they are looking forward to create a reserve or not. But provisions are all the time necessary. They are being like necessity. So profit and loss disclosure, profit and loss account disclosures, how they are going to take place. So if I talk about the reserves, they are below the line. And if I talk about the provisions, they are above the line. Right? If I talk about the balance sheet disclosure, so such kind of reserves are over there on liabilities side, right? And provisions are there on asset side. Sir, we know this chapter really very well. I mean, congratulations. Right? So now that's over. That's perfectly fine. Now let's quickly move on to the next part where the student gets confused a lot of times. And right, this is over there into your examination as well. Please pause karo beta. Now the next part is being like there is something known as capital reserve. And the next is reserve capital. Capital reserve or reserve capital. Capital reserve over here is created out of profits. It's created out of profits of capital nature. Profits of capital nature. What does it mean with profits of capital nature? Beta, just like company has forfeited the shares, right? Company has done forfeiture of shares. And after that, on reselling those shares, they have incurred a profit, right? You sold one of your capital assets, being like you sold your fixed asset, and you have earned a profit over the book value itself, right? After that, if I talk about the reserve capital, it represents the portion of share capital. It represents the portion of share capital determined by company which has not been called up or which has not been called up. You can straight away write the amount which has not been called up by the concerned company. And if they will be called up, they will be called up only in event of winding up. Except in winding up. Right? So if company has issued shares for 10 rupees, 5 rupees are something which are called by the company and paid. For rest 5 rupees, the company is not making the call. Company is not calling them. So they will be called, that is mandatory, they will be called in the event of winding up. Got it? So this is all about the meaning or definition, whatever you want to write for capital reserves. थोड़ा आता ना, मेरे को भी अकाउंट्स पढ़ाना आता ना, थोड़ा तो आता ही है. देख लो अकाउंट्स भी पढ़ाने लग जाओ. I know na, I'm familiar with some of the portions which are related to accounts. Yes. Now let's quickly move on to the next part where we are going to talk about the last point of today's class. Yes, pause, very good. So what is all about the nature? If I talk about the capital reserve, they are not generally regarded as free for distribution. Not generally regarded as free for distribution, as dividend through P&L, as dividend through profit and loss account. Right? Moving on to next. If things are over there as part of internal regulations, of the management, or you can say company, right? They can call such amount, an event of liquidation or winding up, whatever they want to, right? So as per a limited company, by passing a special in the event of liquidation, that can be done, right? And if you want to call that amount, you can also call that amount, right? So this is not properly given actually. So things are being like, they can be regarded as free for distribution as dividend. They can be given as a part of dividend, but over here you are going to call them as a part of only on liquidation, or you can say winding. The company can call them, but they will not, they cannot distribute the dividend using the reserve capital. From capital reserve, you can distribute the dividend as well. Okay? Got it, my dear student? Now, beta, you are required to go through with your scanner itself. What you will find that yes, when it comes to every kind of item belonging to a concerned chapter, I'm trying to cover everything. Right? If I talk about the questions which have been raised into the year 1999 as well, I'm trying to cover those as well. Right? From after that, we are trying to cover till the maximum extent. Okay? But still, there may be few things which are going to be there into your examination, and things are going to be application based. Do not feel like that yes, whatever we have covered over there at present with you guys, it is going to be perfect. No. You have to apply your mind. जब तक बेटा अपनी बुद्धि नहीं लगाओगे, teacher cannot do anything until unless you are going to apply your mind properly. You have to understand the question properly, then only you can score good marks. Now, bye-bye, take care. Take care of yourself. We'll catch you in next class where we are going to start with one more chapter. Okay, bye-bye.